says, and many times we brought this issue and we will keep bringing it up. Because the fact that we're not practicing Islam properly, the fact that we are eliminating important aspects of Islam and compartmentalizing Islam and dividing Islam and being very selective and choosy in our approach to Islam is killing our hearts. It's killing our hearts. You know, a fake image of Islam, if you just fool yourself and make yourself happy because you do certain things, when you're violating important things about Islam, doesn't do any justice to your heart. It doesn't do good to your heart. The fake thing doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And that's why we have an issue of morality among ourselves. We have an issue of respect. We have an issue with our hearts, with our spirituality, with our morality. That's why Muslims are not seeing great opportunities to really practice their Islam. I don't want you to see these things that the Ottoman Caliph did at the time, or these Muslims in Tampa Bay are doing today, mashallah. I don't want you to see this as an act of propaganda, as something to show. You don't have to show. This is an opportunity to practice Islam first. And when we practice Islam, people get to see about it. People get to see the truth. But when we are on the sidelines, when we marginalize ourselves and stop being relevant to life, we trying to live on the margins and insist that's what Islam is. We forget that the Muslims from the early stages, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companions were never on the sidelines. They were never marginalized. They always played a role in their society. They were relevant to their times. And that's why the scholars of Islam say, Al-Islamu salihun li kulli zamanin wa makan. Islam is relevant to every time and every place. And some scholars say, بل الإسلام صالح ومصلح لكل زمان ومكان. Islam is not only relevant to every time and space, but Islam also has rectifying capacity. It sets everything right in every time and every place. And if Islam is not playing this role, there's a problem with the understanding that we have about Islam. What is our contribution as Muslims? What is our contribution to our family, to our community, to our society? There are opportunities, there are needs, there are people who need not only money and wealth and finances. There are people who have social needs, emotional needs. There are people who need guidance in different areas of their life. And we have many capacities and abilities, but we're holding back. We're not seeing these opportunities because we're so much focused sometimes on ourselves, or we're so full of fear. We want to protect ourselves from everything. But that means all these great opportunities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering us, we're missing out on them. So really that's a big shout out to the Muslim community in Tampa for seeing this opportunity to practice their religion, and offer a practical solution. Islam has solutions for everything. Islam is relevant. When Islam stops being relevant, there is something wrong in the way we are approaching it. And that's why one of the tabi'een says to his students, when he sees that his students trying sort of to apply his limitations and apply his limited understanding and his personal bias to Islam and thus hijack it in a way. This tabi'i says to his student, he says, Ya bunay la tahmil sa'at al-Islam ala dhiqi sadrik. Oh my son, don't limit Islam. Don't limit the vastness of Islam to the limitation of your heart and your chest and your understanding. Don't claim authority over Islam when you yourself are limited. Don't do that. Don't do that, because when we do this, we're pushing people away from Islam. Not only non-Muslims who really can't see what Islam really is. They really can't see what Islam really is. A lot of them, they just don't know what Islam is. Although they're dealing with the Muslims on a daily basis, but they don't like what they see from Muslims. They don't see Islam in the actions of the Muslims. And not only non-Muslims, our own kids are struggling and suffering Because we place upon them a huge burden sometimes, cultural expectations that we depict to them and offer them as if this is what Islam really is. Oftentimes, I come from Jordan, I want Islam to be like it's back in Jordan. You're not holding on to that, you're not following Islam. I'm from Pakistan, you have to follow my Pakistani Islam, otherwise you're not following the right Islam. I'm from Egypt, you have to follow my Egyptian Islam, otherwise you're not following Islam. Islam is a universal message. Look at the history and the topography of the Muslims. You'll find Islam is in the Arab world, in Africa. You'll find it in the sub-Indian continent. You will find it in Southeast Asia. And you'll find it in Turkey and Europe. And you'll find it in some areas in Asia, Middle Asia. And you will find Islam has not hijacked local cultures. Islam has not hijacked local cultures. On the contrary, Islam influenced these cultures in a positive way. And helped them grow. Help them become more reasonable. So you go to Malaysia, you realize you're not in Saudi Arabia. You go to Kazakhstan, you realize you're not in Nigeria. Why? Because cultural aspects are different, yet both are Muslims. And both are praying. There are things in Islam that are universal, that they don't change. But Islam does not reduce humans to just one culture. That's not the way to do it. And thus, this is how we have to be aware that oftentimes, through us trying to be loyal to our local cultures, we're actually limiting Islam and pushing our younger generation and many people away from Islam. And that's a serious thing. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. Don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt there. Don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt. That's the deen of Allah. That's the religion of Allah. You have to be a good ambassador or hold back. If you're going to have a negative impact, hold back. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us relate to the true essence of Islam according to the understanding of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه.